9029 Green of Texas. The clerk will report.
An amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to the committee print offered by Mr. Green of Texas, designated as 029. This is his first amendment.
Without objection, the amendment is considered read. The gentleman from Texas is now recognized to discuss his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as written, Section 5001 rescinds unobligated funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development's program that funds energy-efficient and climate-resilient upgrades in multifamily housing assisted through HUD's Section 8 program, which deals with low-income persons in needing of assistance, 202 program, which deals with the elderly, and 811, which supports persons who have some disabilities. And while the chairperson would redirect these funds for purposes that I don't agree with, I believe these funds can be redirected such that they can help people in need of housing. Section 5001 does nothing to address the housing and climate crises that are hurting our constituents, and instead would eliminate funding that would help increase the supply of resilient and affordable housing. My amendment would strike Section 5001 and replace it with the Reforming Disaster Recovery Act of 2019 that I and Representative Wagner, in tandem with this committee's leadership, passed the House of Representatives in the 116th Congress. My amendment adds aid after a disaster. It does not take money from the elderly and disabled and transfers it to persons who of great means. This amendment would permanently authorize the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, that is the CDBG-DR program, which provides communities with flexible long-term recovery resources needed to rebuild affordable housing and infrastructure after a disaster. While CDBG-DR is often one of the only recovery tools available to the lowest income survivors of disasters, vital resources have been diverted after past disasters from the people and communities with the greatest needs and for whom the program was designed to serve. This amendment would ensure that limited disaster recovery funds reach the most vulnerable survivors. And I would add this. This amendment would allow the persons who are in greatest need of those disaster funds, some of them, many of whom are veterans, many of them are elderly persons, persons who have disabilities. We are finding that many of these persons, after a disaster, will not get the funding that they need. And for the benefit of all, if you have not suffered one of these disasters, it's just a matter of time before you're likely to. We should be proactive and do what we have done. This resolution, this bill, has actually passed the House of Representatives, and I credit Ms. Wagner with a lot of the effort to get it done. We worked together, but to be very candid, this was an idea that she brought to my attention. And I'm honored to have worked with her to pass this legislation. And I would hope that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle would realize that what we did once in another Congress, we can do again in this Congress. And this bill affords us the opportunity to do this. It's time for us to give consideration to the hurricanes that impact the Gulf Coast, the fires that impact the West Coast, and many of the other disasters that are in between the various coasts. There are tornadoes, earthquakes. We have the ability to deal with these things in a systematic fashion, as opposed to after each of these natural occurrences to reinvent the wheel, which is what we do currently. We reinvent the wheel after each disaster. We don't have in place what this legislation would provide, and that is a means by which we can expeditiously help people to recover from natural disasters. Don't pass this legislation, and we'll be responsible to many people for a lack of an effort to recover. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Who seeks recognition?